Hey, welcome to the Nova Hoopcast. Kevin O'Brien here with Coach Davey Houston from West Potomac. Coach, you've been chomping at the bit to get on our Hoopcast. Sorry it took so long.
Only took a pandemic. All good.
That's right. And we wish we could have come down with Buster and do our normal taping in person. We apologize for that. We wanted to see the new gym. We know you've done some good things down there, and you've had so many good teams. So we apologize. And then I always like to go out to eat lunch down there. So I would have asked for a great place to eat, but we're doing it via Zoom because that's where we are in this world. And if we could start off, Coach, and talk to us about, for the people out there who don't know about West Potomac and don't know the great success you've had, maybe you can talk about how long you've been there and what you've been doing there as a coach and the great teams you've had.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I was anxious to get you guys out to talk about the food part because we definitely have some good food spots out in Alexandria. This is my 17th season at West Potomac, and I've been my first head coaching job after I was an assistant coach with Dick Wickline at West Springfield, and I took over while West Potomac was in the Patriot Conference, and from the time that I was also at West Springfield in the Patriot Conference as well, and then we recently went into the Gunston. So kind of all I've known, and I was a player at West Springfield, so all I've known really is the that Patriot style conference, and it was when I got in it, we had Charlie Thompson was over there, and I think Ivan just gotten there over at TC, and those are the super heavy hitters. Coach Wickline was still at West Springfield, so I mean you got Metris was at Lake Braddock, so you got like a 2,000 wins in coaching stuff that you got to try to go against as a rookie, and I just think that was that sharpened our knife over at at West Potomac. Just during that time, TC won a state title in 2008. And I think that really catapulted everybody, especially us. They're our rival, down the street rival, and in our conference. And so, it just allowed me and our coaching staff, to try to, get our players to that level to play. If you can play at that level in your own conference, then, that will absolutely expand. If that team can play and win a state title, that can expand right out to the rest of the state. So we just, we grind, we played in the summer, we played, spring, things everybody else did, but, we really, had our mind. I think it's different when you have, and then Woodson came to the conference, when we and won a state title. So when you have a team that wins a state title in your conference, just strengthens that. Lake Braddock had gone a couple years in a row. So, we just really worked at it and really been excited. We've had the Alexandria basketball matters a lot, kids and the families and stuff that come out to the games. I've been running a basketball camp there for 15 summers, and, COVID's the only thing that stopped it. This summer, and a lot of the kids that we have had were 7-year-old and 8-year-olds at camp that became seniors and off to college and stuff like that. So the community likes the sport, they like our team and program, and we like playing in front of big crowds.
Hey, Coach, let's I'll make one comment real quick. You came up under one of the real gentlemen of Northern Virginia basketball, and Dick Wickline, just a class act. That's my comment. My question, let's move forward, to this year. I mean, obviously you've established West Potomac as one of the real first-class basketball programs in the area. I know you've got a young team this year, and you got to kind of jump right into conference play, and there's, kind of flying by the seat of your pants in terms of schedule changes and all kinds of things. But as far as the product on the floor, tell us a little bit about your young guys this year.
So everybody in our program, my varsity team came through our program. So they are kids that were on our JV team and freshman team. We actually have a freshman in the starting lineup now. So we're just really young. We're talented. I think we're talented. These experience, it's like one of my assistant coaches is Coach Struther is a driver's ed teacher. And, just the idea of you have to get behind the wheel hours, and there's no way to get you just got to get the hours that you can do,
Right.
And we just need to get the games under our belt. But I'm excited about them. They play hard. We get after it. We've played already, a couple of really good teams. We already had to play. We've been every game, played South County already, which is a tough game, obviously. So excited about this group. The conference play starts, I think, this week, which is crazy, in game, I think, 6 for us. So You know, I think we'll be ready to go, especially after the teams that we play. You know, we play Lake Braddock this Monday and Centerville on Tuesday. You know, so
Wow.
it isn't as if we're, you know, going out against, you know, the little sisters of the poor. We're playing the big dogs, and you know, you either, you know, rise up or you don't. And I think we have it in us. Our program, the way we've been doing it for years, is, you know, we play as hard as you can. You know, you play as hard as you can every possession. You know, battle for every inch on the floor, and I think we'll do it again this year.
Hey, Coach, tell us a little bit about your district this year. You know, you don't necessarily need to tell us where you feel like you fit in, but just tell us about other teams in your district that you know of, and kind of what they bring to the table this season.
Right. Well, I can probably be the only coach ever to guarantee that we're in the semifinals. So
Yeah.
we're in the semifinals. There's only 4 teams in our league now. TC is not playing. So, you know, we've got Annandale's got some really good returning players. They were young last year. And they've got a couple really good star guards. They got a really good big man. I think they're tough. Hayfield, you know, is always going to get after it. You know, Mount Vernon has a new coach. So, you know, without Summer and things like that, I haven't seen a lot about them. But I know the returners for those other teams. And it's, you know, it's gonna be tough. I think the non-fans is going to affect a little bit. Our conference has some real good home court advantage type of things. So, you know, we'll see how everybody can handle that. But I think, and we play everybody at the end of the week, and by next week, I think the kids have figured it out. Play without fans, just get after it.
Right.
Yeah, you make a good point. I think seen a couple games, you know, obviously on video and in person. And, you know, my observation so far is that the kids are, you know, generating some enthusiasm. They're excited to have the opportunity to play, but it's definitely different. I mean, it feels like a scrimmage atmosphere. I can hear everything the coaches say for one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you picked up on that with officials or anything. You maybe get away with things that you used to be able to get away with when the crowd noise would drown you out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Timeouts is it feels a little bit like the first year that they took cheerleaders away in Fairfax County.
Yeah.
And I remember the first game, you know, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And then when it's a timeout, and it was like a Tuesday night non-conference game, and you know, it's like, oh my gosh, I can hear me. But yeah, it's like a team camp, you know, atmosphere a little bit. You know, you grab your stuff, you get up, you move, you know, but the kids are resilient. You know, we're all wearing masks now. We didn't think we would 9 months ago. So, you know, I give them a lot of credit. It's tough, but they're making it work.
Hey, Coach, how are they doing with the mask? I have my own opinion on that, but are you reminding your kids a lot? Or, I mean, Brian and I were saying how we do feel bad for them. No one's asking us to run up and down the floor and exercise with the mask, but are they generally, you know, able to keep it over their nose, or is that something you're constantly reminding the kids, and is it an issue?
No, I think the majority of the kids are keeping it. I mean, there's one or two. I think the biggest issue that we've noticed and the adjustment that we've had to make was, you know, we got like nice, actually I got a mask right here. We got like nice West Potomac masks and stuff, and everybody has some nice masks, and apparently that's not the way to go playing a game. Yeah. It's all sweaty and, you know, spitty and stuff like that. And so you can't really, so at least our athletic training staff offered like the disposable mask and just had them out so the kids could swap them out every quarter, or, you know, especially the guys that play a lot. And I think I've encouraged them to do that. I think that's helped a lot. But yeah, the first game, it was weird. Everybody had it down. Some people had it up. I think the kids are looking at everybody to see how everybody else is doing it for a game situation. And, you know, some you know, administrators are, you know, a little more harsh and, hey, put your mask on. Right. Yeah, not harsh on it, because again, I've never run once with a mask at all. So you know, I don't think it's not that widespread that kids have it down. It's not that bad.
Hey, Coach, before we let you go, you touched on this a little bit. You've got a young team, and I'm sure you would have benefited tremendously from having a couple of weeks of preseason and scrimmages and all that. But I think the only thing one of the things that saves you is you've got an established program. Like you said, your kids are familiar with you. You know, you've been there for a long time. I got to really sympathize with like a first-year coach. If you have a first-year coach with a young team during this stuff, I can't imagine, you know, how your head must be spinning. But maybe talk a little bit about what it's like having a young team in a year like this.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you there. I can't imagine a brand new rookie coach who got the job during the summer and only had like Zoom time to put stuff in and now have to roll it out. And then we lost those 2 days of snow. I think the challenge has really just been for me. We do a lot of film. We break down film. I take a lot of notes in summer. I see the guys play in AAU. I see the guys play at team camp, and we play pickup and stuff like that. So you get a lot of bad habits out of the way that you see some kids do when even just styles. And we didn't have a chance to do that. So the first time you get a chance to do that is like literally in a game, is to let somebody know something. So I think that's the biggest challenge.
Right.
Just not having the time. But I mean, it's also it's also basketball too. So some parts of it is more, I think, some coaches, in that situation, mine and rookie coaches would be, maybe better suited to, coach less, let them play a little bit more,
Right.
and as opposed to try to coach each possession. But I mean, that's everybody has to, control their own program and team that way. But, that's what we're learning. We're learning, to tell, point guards, don't pick it up at half court. How about don't do that, and
Right.
and, they thought that they could, or, as one of my point guards said, that last year's I had a veteran squad last year, really veteran squad, third-year varsity point guard. And he said that, that guy just made it look so easy, and he thought it was, the way, and I told him it was years to get to that point. And
Right.
that's just, we're on the part of the, the process, and the part of the process. And,
Right.
and just the fact that, I let them know half the state's not playing, DC's not playing, Maryland's not playing, I'm not complaining, I'm not complaining out there. We're out there getting after it, and,
Right.
be sitting
Right.
around doing nothing.
Yeah, great points and great stuff. Well, Coach, the hardest thing for Kevin and I when we do these interviews is cutting them off at like 10 or 11 minutes because, obviously we love talking hoops and we could stay on forever with you and all our other guests. But you really established, again, one of the great programs in Northern Virginia. And Kevin, I'll promise Coach Houston that when we come out of this nonsense, we'll get down to the Wolverine.
We won't be down. We'll come down, we promise, and to visit. And like Brian said, you've been doing a great job. And I think you're, whether you feel it or not, you're one of the guys who's been around for a long time now. I mean, I don't know if you feel that way, but in a world where coaches don't last all the time like they used to, they just don't. You've been there 17 years, and it shows. I think, you could probably explain and at length how you started, and you're at a point where it's a program because you've been there so long. But congratulations to your longevity, and we hope you keep coaching. There's not many people like that. You're one of the old guys now.
It's weird hearing that. I hear you guys sometimes, like the old guys, and then I used to laugh like, haha, and then you know what? I guess I might be one of them. But
you are.
Fine wine, I guess.
That's right.
Yeah, there's a few of us that came in around my time, and it's cool to be a part of that.
Cool.
Thank you guys for having me on. I do appreciate you all, man.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Have a great day. Good luck.
All right.
Hey, Brian, I know we were kind of running out of time, but one thing I wanted to bring up, we're fans of Dick Wickline, and he's been around a long time, but I don't know if you want to share with our many viewers our moment with Dick Wickline early on in your coaching career when we were both at Langley. And
I assume it's the same.
Yeah, I think it is.
You're thinking of. So we were playing at a tournament over there. He was still the coach at TJ, I think. Or no, maybe he was. We were in a tournament at TJ. I don't know if he was still the coach there or not, or if he was coaching some at West Springfield. But anyway, we went over there, and my first year at Langley was a long one. You're getting started, and we were just talking about rookie coaches, and your head's spinning, like, why is this working? Et cetera, et cetera. And I just remember him talking to me or us. I don't know if you were.
I was there. I was standing there
in the hallway, and just as an old veteran coach, and kind of putting his arm around me and saying, "Hey, keep at it. You guys are doing the right stuff. It's gonna come around for you." I don't know if you have any other recollections about.
I just remember him being, the coach that you think everyone should be, and they're not.
Right.
And just saying the right things at the right time, and
Right.
we were very frustrated, but he
Yeah.
had some real nice words. So I've always felt
Yeah.
he's one of the class acts in the northern region.
Right. And, he totally got it. Like that was exactly what I needed to hear as a first year coach from a veteran coach at that moment, because you do go through, you get discouraged, you question if you're doing the right things when you're not seeing the results that you want to see. And it was the right stuff at the right time from him. So yeah, definitely one of the class acts in Northern Virginia coaching.
Along those lines, Brian, I think you're aware of it. But for those who are out there and are big fans of Northern Virginia basketball, Julian Brown, who's a great guy, former official, has started a Facebook page called Northern Region Legends. If you haven't seen it or heard about it, it's a pretty cool website. He expands outside of, I'd say, Fairfax and Alexandria a little bit. I know he posted something about Chris Leonard, who's one of the great players out here in Loudoun. But it's a really cool website for basketball junkies like us, where people are posting old pictures and old rosters. And I even saw a great video the other day of a 1987 matchup where Herndon was out South Lakes and Grant Hill was a freshman. So really cool website, but not a website, but Facebook page, Northern Region Legends, if you're interested.
Yeah, some of the pictures on there that people post, we talk about Dick Wickline. I'm sure that's what made you think of it. I mean, there's pictures of him early in his coaching career, I think at Falls Church High School. I think in his playing career, he's a local guy.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see, some of what comes up on that page.
Well, Brian, can we transition into talking about Fairfax County? We did Loudoun a couple of weeks ago. We had Coach Honore on. He talked a little bit about Prince William. Today, Coach Houston talked a little bit about his district, but can we expand on and talk more about Fairfax County basketball this year? I know you've been out to see some games. We saw a game together the other day.
Yeah.
Media over at Centerville, very impressed with him. But if you want to get started, let's talk about Fairfax County basketball this season.
Yeah, there's definitely some teams that have separation at the top. And I think we've talked about Lake Braddock and South County already. South Lakes is up there with them. Centerville is up there with them. I think those are the top 4 teams that I've seen. If you break it down to districts a little bit, like in the Liberty, it's really South Lakes district to lose. It's a very interesting district because after them, Washington Liberty's okay. They lost on a buzzer beater to Wakefield, and I know those are Arlington teams, but they play in districts with in the district with Fairfax teams. But really after that, it's really interesting. McLean, Langley, Yorktown, Herndon, it's kind of a dogfight among those teams. And it wouldn't surprise me if one of them knocks off South Lakes at some point in time. But I think it's South Lakes and then everybody else in the Liberty. In the Concord, you and I saw Centerville. We could talk about that game in a minute. I think Centerville is at the top. Madison is right there with them, and they've had some battles.
And didn't Madison beat Centerville?
Yeah.
Swept them maybe last year.
Right. Yeah. So, they know each other so well. Kevin Harris used to be an assistant at Madison. But I don't think there's any doubt. It's the two of them. I would say there's a drop off, after those two teams. So that's going to be very interesting. The Patriot, it's, Braddock and South County. And again, talk about a drop off. There's pretty significant drop off. And I don't mean that as a slight to any team. There's younger teams, and those two teams are veteran teams, veteran coaches. So it's the two of them at the top. Now, having said that, like Lake Braddock had a 1-point win over Hayfield. So anything can happen. But in terms of, the top teams, they're definitely at the top. In the Gunston, we just finished talking to Coach Houston. That's a more interesting league. I think Hayfield is probably at the top of that league. TC, as he mentioned, is not playing this year.
That's huge.
Yeah, West Potomac's a young team, but an established program. Mount Vernon is a young team with a new coach. Annandale, I think, is someone that could sneak up on people.
Oh, yeah.
Not just in that district, but in Northern Virginia in general. John Awoke is an outstanding point guard. Mahmoud Bangura is a really good size wing scorer. So, in my mind, the big four that we've talked about already, again, Braddock, South County, Centerville, and South Lakes. I would say the next tier of teams that are kind of knocking on the door are Madison. They're right there, Hayfield, and Annandale. And I think what Madison probably has to do is they're good at controlling the game. I think if you get into their bench, they've got some inexperienced guys on their bench. So that's going to be one of the keys. Can they develop a bench? Some of these other teams we talk about have some depth and can kind of come at you in waves. So can Madison withstand that? Hayfield does have some depth. So they're interesting. I would say the same issue with Annandale. Like with Annandale and Madison, I would say their first five, they're solid. But when you get into their bench, they might have some younger, inexperienced guys. So that's quick thoughts on that. We can talk about specific games if you want, but I don't know if you have anything to add on kind of the landscape of Fairfax, Kevin.
Well, I think Centerville comes to mind just because we both went to see them play. I was very impressed with them. I think that was their first game that we saw them play the other night against a solid McLean team. McLean was 2-0 coming into that game, and I know they had one of their guys banged up. Bremser was hurt and played a little bit, but man, they look good, and they kept coming in waves. And
they're big too.
Yeah, they are big.
That's the interesting. Yeah.
They are very big, and they seem to have a lot of the pieces to repeat what they did last year. So Centerville is really looking strong. Obviously South Lakes, Lake Braddock. How about Jamie Kaiser?
Yeah.
On fire. I mean, he's had games of 31, 25, and 43.
Right.
As a sophomore. So
yeah.
He's playing extremely well for Lake Braddock. So that's a team I definitely want to try to get in as a media guy. We are able to get in as media. People are very strict, but we're hopefully be able to get in to watch them play. But I think
we do follow all appropriate protocols.
We do. And we even have a media pass or something that looks like it.
Right.
But I think Fairfax has some pretty good state contenders. And here's something that we really haven't thought about that maybe we'll look into more as we get closer to the playoffs. What other teams in the state are not playing, and how does that help the Northern Virginia area? Because I know there's some good teams out there, maybe in Richmond, or I don't know who's playing or who's not playing in Virginia Beach, but you got to think that because we are playing and some teams aren't, that we might have a little bit of a better chance. Maybe
no, you're right. Yeah. You know what it makes me think of, Kevin, is remember back in the day, maybe even still, better than I do, like there were certain sports like lacrosse that were only played in certain parts of the state. So, your path to a state title was different than it was for a sport that was played everywhere. This year reminds me of that because, like you said, there's a lot of jurisdictions that have chosen not to play, and Davey mentioned that too. And I think on the VHSO website you can look at who's playing, who's not playing. But yeah, that makes it interesting. And it is what it is. I mean, there's no point as a coach in overanalyzing that stuff. You just like the old saying is you just play who's on your schedule. But you're right, that definitely changes.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's paying attention to that quite yet. Maybe some of the top tier teams, but I do think as we go through, it'll be very interesting to see, if you start to project, region and state playoffs where things might end up for some of our Northern Virginia teams.
Right.
And talking about, if we can transition, Brian, we're continue to talk about Fairfax. If we could talk about some of the big games that's happened since our last broadcast. We talked about some of the teams, but you mentioned Hayfield being close there to contending, losing to Lake Braddock by only one. I was a little surprised. I knew they had Braylon Wheeler, but honestly, I don't know much about the rest of their squad. So that was there's no such thing as a good loss, but that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I was surprised by that too. Ashton Pratt is another kid from Hayfield. I saw them when they played Yorktown, and that game kind of came down to the last 2 minutes or so. Yorktown has with some young guys out there turned the ball over times.
Yorktown's playing that Grinnell style up and down.
Correct. Yeah.
Loading people in and out. Yep.
Yeah. So Hayfield pulled away on that, but having watched Hayfield and then being familiar with Braddock, I I was a little surprised by that score, that Braddock just won by 1. But Hayfield, they don't back down from anybody. They've got a veteran coach in Carlos Poindexter, and they'll go right at you. So I know they're fearless. So, in some respects, not overly surprising. If there's a team that's going to give Braddock a run, it wouldn't surprise me that Hayfield was up to the task. But just from a talent standpoint, I was a little bit surprised, especially with kind of the veteran guys Braddock has and the way Kaiser's playing.
Yeah.
Great. So
he's playing really well. And it's not only him. We haven't really talked about David Solomon, and we haven't really gotten into specific teams yet in Fairfax, but great player in David Solomon, who, if Kaiser's not going to hurt you, David Solomon certainly will. One of our favorite rebounders from last year.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Annandale, you mentioned, I think they're playing very well. We're happy John Awoke stayed. I think we questioned that, whether he was going to stay or leave, and he did stay. And he's continued to do well for Annandale. I think they have some other talent. Madison playing Yorktown, I watched that game, and I was impressed with Madison. It was close early on, but Madison ended up beating Yorktown by 19, which real solid win.
I was at that game, and I've seen I'm going to see Annandale play tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, because that's a place. Annandale's not easy to win these days, and they've got a couple pieces. And you mentioned one of them, John Awoke. They've got some other guys that can play. And one of the challenges there is, quite honestly, keeping guys.
Yeah.
So when you get a good player, it's an issue in all public schools, but it's an issue at Annandale. So those guys are still there. It's great to see guys commit to their program. So I'll see them. And Madison, I saw that game. I was at that game against Yorktown, and they did a nice job controlling the pace, because you can't let it get away from you playing a team that wants to play fast. And Madison's capable of playing fast, but like I mentioned earlier, it's a little tricky when you get into their bench. Their first five's pretty good. So
Logan Spafford for
Logan Spafford, Elijah Turner. They've got a kid named Colin Tufts, who is a UVA baseball commit.
Wow.
Super, super athletic. I mean, he's not real big, but he had a couple dunks, and he can do things on both ends around the basket. But again, when you get deep into their bench, so if they have injuries or foul trouble or things of that nature, then it becomes a little bit more challenging, like it is everywhere. But they, they're not built to play, 10 or 12 guys. It's funny, Kevin, when you watch Yorktown has like 17 or 18 guys on their varsity roster. It's great because, they're playing Grinnell. Speaking of Grinnell, Robinson, I haven't seen them, but I think they're trying to play that style too. It's hard to implement something new in a year like this. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I mean, you're trying to build a team based on your talent, and unlike colleges, you get what you get, you don't recruit people in your system. You got to make them work sometimes. Talking about Prince William, they got to open up last week, Brian, some good games. Our friend Keith Honore having a big win over Garfield to start his season.
Yeah.
Woodbridge, a team that he had talked about that we think is going to be really good as well, beat a solid Colgan team by 28. Forest Park winning. Coach Mack down there won a couple games last week, beginning with a win over Hilton. But, like we talked about last week, Potomac seems to be the team to beat down there, and they're showing it, and they are off to a good start. But interesting to see who else kind of comes and, contends with them. But I'm sure those coaches were happy to get on the court last week. They started a week later than the Fairfax and Loudoun County guys.
Yeah, they did. And I'm going to get out and see if I can. If not, I'll watch on video. But Patriot and Osborne play on Tuesday, and hasn't played yet. So that's a heck of an opening for them to go to Patriot. Patriots only played one game. They beat Colgan pretty good. But that league, the Cedar Run, Kevin, it's interesting because we've talked about that. There's been a lot of years that it's been a real battle in that league and a lot of parity. I think Patriot is the top team. You got Champ from Loudoun plays in the Cedar Run as well. They're in the mix in that league. So it'll be interesting. But Patriots, that's another coach that he hadn't been there as long as Coach Houston, but he's got his kind of program and his culture up and running now for sure.
And Coach Carter at Osborne has three very solid senior guards that are
Yeah.
going to help him. So that'll be a fun game to go watch. And
Right.
let's just lastly hit up a couple games in Loudoun. You mentioned Champ. I think they're one of the better teams in Loudoun. They got to play at home actually, they played at Rockridge yesterday in what turned out to be an overtime win for Champ over Rockridge. Rockridge being led by Greg Spurlock, senior at Rockridge, who's already committed to Coppin State. But, you know, I watched that game yesterday on NFHS Network, which is pretty cool.
Right.
If
Yeah.
people haven't gotten that subscription yet, it's, you know, the season's going to be over in a month. So you could spend $10.99 and watch a ton of games.
You sure can. I've gotten my money's worth already, Kevin.
Yeah. I watched the game yesterday, and it was an up and down game. But, man, Champ is athletic, Brian.
Yeah.
I wish I had a roster to kind of identify who everyone was. I obviously know the Jasper twins from AAU and from last year. But, man, they have a lot of good athletes, and the game was up and down. Very fun to watch, but two of the better teams playing, you know, yesterday and an unusual Saturday game midday. I think a lot of ADs are trying to stay away from evenings if they can. So a lot of games.
You guys just want to get home. You
I know.
administrators.
Everyone thinks we're lazy. Everyone, you know, we always pass the buck. The coaches are lazy. They can't do their paperwork. The ADs are lazy. They never want to be here. I mean, I'll have you know, Brian Doyle, that I'll be here 5 nights next week.
You know, it's funny, since I'm not coaching this year, I hear from both the ADs and the coaches. I hear those stories, and I just smile and nod.
Yeah.
Go along with it.
Nobody's doing their job. Nobody's doing their job.
No.
But,
let me ask you a little bit more. Can I ask? Oh, you got more Loudoun stuff you're going to talk about?
I do. I want to just highlight two teams that coming into the season, I didn't necessarily think they would be undefeated at this point. I mean, granted, we've only played a couple games, but Stonebridge starting off very strong, beating a good Potomac Falls team at Potomac Falls the other night, which is hard to do. I know there's no fans, but it's not a big gym, and they've got so much history there. So that was a good win for Coach Kling and his players at Stonebridge. And then Broad Run High School, our friend John Costello and Pat Cassidy doing a great job. They are very athletic. Saw them play on tape. They beat Dominion the other night, who's, you know, on paper was supposed to be one of the better teams in that Dulles district. And they're 3-0. They're looking good. So congratulations to Broad Run. I know they're not going to want to take it so early in the season, but didn't see that coming. I don't know if they saw that coming either, but Stonebridge and Broad Run stepping out and being some of the better teams so far in Loudoun.
Yeah. Kevin, I've watched Stonebridge play, and I agree. They sprint right out of the gates. Now they play Riverside tomorrow, right?
They do play Riverside. It's at Stonebridge. That should be a good game. Stonebridge, you know, has a lot of weapons. Riverside had a couple good wins last week. They did lose to Rockridge in a close game here that could have gone either way. So I think the top 4 in that Potomac district includes Stonebridge and Riverside. They could all win it. So it should be a good game tomorrow night.
Yeah. Potomac Falls and Rockridge. Another one tomorrow night, I think.
I don't know. You looking at a schedule? Looks like
I'm looking at our friend Chris Jolly from Nova.
Who we saw the other night. Chris Jolly.
Yes.
If you're listening, Chris, he says he listens to us on Sunday night. So if you're listening, Chris, we were all kind of trying to figure out the machine and how to answer the questions doing our protocol at Centerville. But that was a fun game to see him at, and he's out and about. He said, I got to get out to Loudoun. So I know he'll be coming out here soon enough. Yeah,
he's listing Potomac Falls at Rockridge tomorrow night.
That should be a good one.
Yeah. I think there's Kevin. I think there's a little more parity maybe in Loudoun than in previous years.
I think a lot of people graduated kids. I think last year was a very good year for seniors. If we had the Nova Challenge, I think everyone would have seen that. But we had a lot of senior-laden teams, and they're gone. So it was really unclear, with the exception of maybe Champ and Rockridge, as to who were going to be the leaders. So, you get a lot of parity.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts before? I don't know if you have any issues you want to bring up, Kevin.
Well, I don't know. It's an issue now that I'm thinking about it. I might feel bad for the kids in saying this, but you had your segment, as we're going to call it, Doyle's Dimes, and I'm going to take my time to shine and have and one. I don't know if and one with Warren or and one.
Yeah, and one.
But my chance to comment on something, and we talked before the show, and that's about the masks that kids are wearing. I think it's a very difficult thing to do, and I think we empathize with them. And but we're in this situation where we all have to try. I've got to wear a mask when I go to Home Depot, when I am in the building at all times.
Right. Except for now.
Except for nobody knows.
Right.
So playing in a mask in a game is very difficult, and I get that. But please try to wear that mask. I saw a whole team wearing theirs as a chin strap to start the game. Not even trying, not even faking it. If it slips off your nose, that's fine. And I don't even mind that as much, but we all have to abide by the same rules. You got officials out there. Have you seen some of the officials and what they have to wear? These masks, not only their mask, but then there's a little extra sack or something that comes out where their whistle's supposed to be. Man, it looks weird.
Well, I know Adam on their on the inadvertent whistle podcast that I listened to part of. I didn't finish it yet, guys. Some of the officials are using the electronic whistles too.
I haven't seen that.
A lot of coaches are using them. I've seen that at practice.
I've seen that in practice, but
it was a new thing for me. I didn't even know those existed.
Yeah.
I guess officials have the option, and I think Adam, I don't know if he's using it or his partner was using it. He said in the game, one of them, they accidentally pushed it, or there was a out of bounds play and they forgot to push it and they just said, black ball or whatever.
Yeah.
That's an adjustment too. You're right. I mean, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
Let me add something to what you said. I think coaches, and if I'm not mistaken, there was a column in the Post a week or two ago, and it might have been Sally Jenkins or somebody. Like coaches, you need to wear them. I mean, I see coaches on TV, and I haven't paid as much attention at the high school games I've been to, but coaches on TV, they wear them except when they want to yell at the officials or during a timeout. And I know like Division I, they're probably tested all the time, but like at a timeout and when they're trying to make a point to the team, they take it down and they're yelling things that like, that's the time that you should have it on. It's like when everybody gets close to you or when you're yelling and, spit's flying out of your mouth, like that's the time you should have it on. So I think coaches need to be mindful of that too.
Wait, is this my segment or is it turning into your segment?
Oh, go ahead. I didn't know if you were done with your
No,
segment.
I wasn't done.
Talking about players.
I wasn't done, and nobody interrupted Doyle's
Take that
Dimes.
all back. You say what you
Nobody interrupted Doyle's Dimes, okay?
And
You
one.
got on your soapbox.
And
All right,
one.
so to finish my point,
Oh, go ahead.
we're all in this together. We all have to be a part of this huge social contract now with COVID. So please, young men, coaches, please wear those masks. And it's not only the administrators' responsibility. I heard some coaches are saying, well, that's not my job. I coach basketball. Let them be the ones who are policing the kids. And we're all here together. We're happy to be playing. And please just try to do your best, kids, to put that mask back up and don't wear it as a chin strap. And now I am finished, Brian.
During these challenging times, #challenging times, we all need to come together.
We do. Brian, are we like morphing into the same person? I mean, we have the same shirt on. We have a similar beard. What is going on?
Somebody's going to make a comment. Our vast social media following, I think.
Yeah. Somebody will probably say something, but
you probably need to shave before next weekend.
No, I kind of like. My wife likes it, and in fact, my mother
That's
likes
all that matters.
Tell me if this is weird. My mother said it looks sexy. I was like, oh, I don't know if I want you to say that.
Oh, completely weird.
Yeah, I was like, don't.
Yeah.
Don't say
Don't
that.
Don't ever say that again.
I love my mother.
Kids. That's
I
what
love
we're
my
own
mom.
kids.
Man, don't say I'm sexy. Don't say that.
You won't hear that from me, believe me.
Yes. Well, we're obviously getting a little bit off topic, and maybe we should wrap things up, Brian. I'm doing the timer. We're at a good time. People don't want to listen to us past 28 minutes. Are we wrapping it up? Anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, I think we've talked a little bit about games next week, so I'm just going to mention some real quick. Maybe we've mentioned some more. South Lakes Madison's going to be a great. Hayfield, South County, Alexandria area rivalry. Osborne and Patriot. I like that matchup. Braddock and Robinson is going to be very intriguing to see what happens, because Robinson's trying to play that style too.
I don't think Robinson's ready. No offense, Coach.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
McLean, one of the great rivalries, and another great South Lakes and Herndon are playing this coming week. So,
Ooh, I like it.
like
I
you
want
said,
Herndon to get better, so it's a
Yeah.
big rivalry.
and we mentioned some of the Loudoun County ones. I like that Riverside Stonebridge matchup too.
Yes, and those kids know each other, which
Yeah.
that's probably the closest school to us, so that'll
Yeah.
be a good rivalry.
Yeah.
Sure.
So everything's accelerated. It's just flying by. Like you said, it's going to be such a fast season.
Season's over in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So.
So.
All right, Brian, that's a good time to wrap it up. Got anything you want to say? We're good.
Go shave and go have a conversation with your mom. You need to talk that through.
Have a blessed day, Brian. All right, I'm stopped.
All
So,
right.
guys, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time on the Nova Hoopcast.
See you.